to order. Roll call, please.
Bill Jenks.
Here.
Fred Mogul.
Here.
Ron Stanko will be absent. Fred Levering.
Here.
And Steve Brenner will be absent.
We still have a quorum. Are there any public comments?
No.
Hearing none. Move on. Do we have a Western Berks ambulance report?
Second.
Just the one that goes through.
It should have been included with your agenda.
Right. Anybody have any questions on that report? Okay, moving right along. This is great.
That'll be easy.
You're up.
All right. Well, just a couple of quick notes. We have met with the police and fire department reps back in October, as we mentioned that we would, and discuss some emergency management services, and had our radio guys show the interop radio box to the guys that were there. And I'll shoot for another meeting. Probably we'll do it after the holidays here. I'm sure everybody's pretty busy with stuff and the schedules are crazy. So we'll shoot for another meeting then. Another couple of things we can talk about or show. I did provide Chris with those papers I had anyway, of the MOU and the mutual aid agreements as they stood with the West Side Regional anyway. I don't know how pertinent they were, but.
Well, they were helpful, but the chief collected some additional information about this, and
It's better.
discussion of Penn State. So I think we're going to talk about
All right.
it in a minute.
Well, that's all right. Well, at least you had what I had
Yeah,
anyway.
thank
So
you.
that's
Appreciate
all right,
it.
sure. Let's see, we provided Jim Babb with our portable message board road sign there for a month anyway of his water system repairs over there in Birdland. He gave some direction for traffic. We were able to use that, and I guess we're almost done with that. Road seems to be open, I guess, in the evening now, it's not closed all the time. I did have a phone call with a message and a meeting with Code Red. We will renew our contract with them for 3 more years. We extended it. We had 3, we expire in June, but we're gonna extend that 3 more years with an increase of about $500 for a year, which I was expecting. There's nothing that's going down, and I don't think that's totally unreasonable. We get good service from them, and I think it's worked out okay for us and the SWAT guys who use our system as well. So that's that part. The last session for training we had was a session on how to develop our emergency operation plans, and that was presented well by the county to us. And at that time I found out of 63 municipal plans that should be out there with the county, they only have 11, one of which is ours, which I was like totally shocked at, but I don't know what they do to actually whip those others into shape. I have no idea. It's supposed to be a legal thing and a law thing, but I don't know. Anyway, we're in compliance and ours is all fine and up to date, which it should be, better be. And
Is there anybody nearby that we deal with regularly that's not?
No, not like the ones I asked about, because I did ask. I said, you want to reveal who it all is? They weren't too forthcoming and all that, but I know some of those people, obviously the ones that are right around us, and they all said they're in, so that seems to be okay. I was just surprised there was that many that weren't in. And I guess a reminder to the fire service too, the burn ban is still in effect for another week or so. I would think after our recent moisture that they might just let it expire. But I don't know that for sure. I don't know who finally decides that, but it started November 2nd and it's supposed to end on the 2nd of December. So I would expect that the rain we had and what we're going to get, hopefully that'll go away. And we'll see. So that's all I have, unless you guys have any questions for me or anything.
Any questions for Tom?
Otherwise, we're up to date.
Very good. Thank you.
Bet.
We have our meeting next month, correct?
Correct, 18th.
All righty, let's backtrack a minute.
Apologize for my tardiness, I was on a long phone call with First Due. Apparently all you guys went to First Due and they took all of our stuff out. I have no idea why. You have our monthly report. Again, membership and donation letters have gone out. I believe we have a few more municipalities that are going to get on the municipal side. Mayor Dean has made it her mission, we'll say, we'll call it that, to go from Warnersville to go to every municipality who's not, and I think kind of shame them, not at our request, but she took what she got from the CELG meeting and she has gone to town across a lot of meetings. So if you run into her at a meeting, please understand that's her representing Warnersville and not Western Berks Ambulance. Other than that, the CELG meetings were very good, they were well attended. Ours was in Lower Heidelberg. I went to all 6 of the meetings, well attended across the board from all the municipalities. Still some of the key players that weren't there. And again, they're gonna possibly have another one at Albright for those who missed it, so that they can go. And again, they don't know what the immediate long-term fix is, but they have a short-term solution, and then they have the commissioners have offered to pay for a consultant to come in and look to see what solutions they can do. And as the county commissioner said, it's not a county problem, it's a local municipal problem, because that, welcome Christian Linebacken is lovely. Because it was the easy solution for them to just do it across the board. And I thought it was rather funny that they could charge all the municipalities for 911 coverage, but they couldn't do it for EMS, which we kind of find rather odd.
That's why it's such a failure in Maryland and Virginia, because it's a local problem.
So that's where we're at with all of our stuff. Looking for a good, safe holiday. And Ethan gave me the scare of my lifetime this morning because I thought it was you. By the way, 7 minutes, Birdsboro to Reading.
I'll just say, both the mayor and myself attended the meeting in Lower Heidelberg, and I thought it was very well attended, that one, and but above all, presentation was, I thought, very informative and excellent. It was just, we need to get people to wake up.
It's hard, I want to say it's hard for my municipalities because I've been preaching this for the last 10 years. So all of my municipalities know what crisis we're in. They know that the billing issues are problems. They know that, you know, reimbursement is not there. And again, it's the insurance lobby that needs to change, and that's not going to change. Or the state government needs to change something, and they're not going to go against the insurance lobby, so you've got to do something. What the question is what? We have one municipal department in our county, that's the city of Reading, and they fund it 100%. Whatever they get in reimbursements is what goes back into the tax dollars. We are still looking at the municipal authority model with Dan Becker, and so I'll probably get you the documents that we were looking at just as a temporary thing to start to look at.
See that thing?
And that would be going with just our current 6, and then looking possibly at intergovernmental agreements with all the rest. Which I think that would probably be the easier, because we already have the 6 that already do everything. So why try to expand it to 22 where we can have the 6 and just do an intergovernmental agreement?
Tony, real quick, I brought this up last month, and just to follow it up, I had received some questions. Some people wanted to know that why we are restoring an ambulance here, and when you're doing the same in West Reading, and they're getting a break on their,
So actually, both trucks are supposed to be out of West Reading, but when their doors broke, you guys could actually offer. Again, I'd love to have the ambulance here 24 hours, but there's no bed space. It's only a reserve second piece. It's not like it's a full service unit. We only have it in service a couple of times. I'm glad today it was in service. So that there's one reason. And I mean, I can always move it back to West Reading. It just makes more
No.
sense for us to be there with it, as it's a reserve piece.
I just wanted to make sure that I had, you know, when I spoke to you about this, that I knew that it had to do with them living there, you know, and there's other factors
I'm
besides.
pretty sure
just
Ethan
having
would
it
love
there.
us to live there, but he doesn't have the room for us. I would love to be there because the guys love being there.
Yeah.
And it's just problem with space and everything else.
Okay. I just wanted to, as a follow-up to last month's meeting. Okay, great. Anybody got anything else for Tony? Okay, thank you, sir. Fire Department, Chief.
Good afternoon, everybody. For the month of November, when the report was put together, we had 111 responses. 70 of those were in the borough, 41 were mutual aid. QRS responses of 27 with 10 patient contacts. Year to date, we're up to 1,622 calls, 1,069 in the borough, 553 were mutual aid. You can see on the report where we're providing our mutual aid service to so far here this month in November. The 90th percentile for response time sits around 2 minutes and 16 seconds. That's based off of all the data that's in our system now. Again, as we continue to add more data, that will come back within the realm that we want it to be in. Training for the month of November, 247 hours were completed. We had an average turnout of 4.18 personnel per incident. Fire loss has not changed since last month. And year-to-date inspections in our new system, we've documented 119. We're up to around 708. Depending on how you pull the report from our old system, you get a little fluctuation in the numbers there. Depends on how things were entered. There's been 26 inspections done in November, along with some witness fire drills, re-inspection hours, and some corrective actions and fire watches that have been issued. Through our new system, we've invoiced $4,650 and received payments on those invoices rather promptly, $2,625. Overall, so far since June, we've invoiced around $68,000 off of us doing these inspections. And that's where we sit for the November report. Answer any questions on the report if anyone has it.
Since our agreement with Spring has ended and we're independent again, how would you categorize, are things meeting your expectations that we're moving just fine, or are there still holes to be filled, and how's the relationship with Spring?
I think that we're moving at the right pace. I think that things are an ever-evolving dynamic. It's hard to tell. They put your finger on one certain aspect here or there. I know that the inspections is a large portion of time. Myself and one of my other staff members are spending a lot of time. So that takes me away from being able to do some of the other things that I need to be focusing on.
How would you solve that problem?
I'm hoping to have enough statistical information to support looking at either a part-time or a full-time position next year to do inspections.
And we're okay with Spring, everything's smooth there?
I believe so. There's been no reports that it's any different.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, if there's no other questions, look forward here. The deputy fire chief hiring process, tentatively, we're looking at opening up in December. early December, have it open for the application period through early January to go over the holiday break. We'll get back together with civil service to certify or recognize eligible versus non-eligible candidates early January, with a written examination coming in mid to late January, followed by the 2 interviews. One panel interview in early February, second would be another interview in the second part of February, moving forward with a recommendation for the March council meeting.
You haven't advertised that yet?
We have not.
Yeah, okay, so and when are you
Still-
anticipating?
I'm hoping to get it out here in early December. Still working on how we're gonna write the ad out completely here. No, I'm not using ChatGPT.
All of them.
Give you an update on the new fire engine. I've attached some pictures to the report here, where we're at with it. Just showing some of the work that's been done. Trying to utilize as much unused space on that engine as possible. So that's a picture of an airbag tucked underneath another shelf. For moving, keeping the health and safety aspect in, we have the exhaust system in the firehouse, so we put the adapter on to capture the exhaust coming off of the apparatus and take it out of the engine room. We've added some split trays for hose and storage of some other equipment on the outside. Just a picture of the map box going to go in between the officer and the driver inside the cab. Picture of the back of the engine, how the hose bed is laid out, so that we can carry the quantities of hose that we feel are necessary to do our job here in the borough. Just some of the equipment mounting pictures of how they've laid out the various compartments so that the equipment's not bouncing around. It's secured, strapped down. Really helps to extend the life of those pieces of equipment. And just some other pictures here of how different compartments are going to be laid out.
Anticipation time?
Yes.
So I can throw in on that, our plywood event at Station 3 is getting fixed.
Okay.
Can you have the magnetic one, correct?
We do.
All right, so I'll make sure that we'll get 2 units mounted with that one ahead of time,
Okay.
and they'll be the units that are down there.
Okay. All right.
That's okay.
There is a picture of the engine with the graphics on it. Work on getting that out to everybody here. But tentatively, we're looking at the first week or second week of December to go down to Glick for the final inspection, to be able to bring it back home here and start going through the process of getting it in service. Glick has been overwhelmed with a bunch of work. Very thankful for their effort that they've put forth on keeping us on track as best they can. As when we get the final data, when we'll be going down, we'll make sure that that gets passed on to the committee here. Currently, that's the way the most recent picture of the side of the engine is going to look. Moving on here, the FEMA Assistance to Firefighter Grant Program has opened up. They're making a priority health and safety. Currently in our NFPA 1582 physical program that we do, it's a hands-on medical physical and an evaluation. They'll draw blood and check your blood. There are some missing components that we have an opportunity to put in this grant for, which would be annual fitness evaluations, behavioral health evaluation, and cancer screening program. Again, the federal government's putting this as a high priority in their grants. They've lowered a lot of other aspects that are eligible items for this grant they've lowered them down to medium and low categories. So I think in consultation with the borough manager that this is the best avenue to go to see if we can get some funding to bring those other aspects into our program and really continue to promote the health and safety and wellness of our fire personnel. And that's all I have for you today.
Anybody got any further questions for the chief? Sounds good, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to the police department, chief and lieutenant.
Good afternoon, everyone. Couple things here. First, I think it was 2 months ago I brought to this committee's attention a mutual aid agreement that Penn State Berks presented to us for police services. I went back and asked some questions regarding that because there was some question about, we have the EMA where we have a lot of mutual agreements now between Spring, West Reading, Sinking Spring, and would they become a part of that? And then the question was, there are in both Wyomissing and Spring Township, they're already part of that. So I had a discussion with Joel Abram, who's the station commander here at Berks campus, and I learned a couple things about what they're looking to do. First, they're looking for accreditation. Part of accreditation requires they have agreements with the surrounding police departments. The next, I talked to him about if they would become a member agency of the Western Berks EMA, if that would be a possibility. But they're not interested in anything like that. They have EMA officials with the university already in place, that if something were to happen, if they needed those functions, they're gonna have to contact main campus and want to bring those resources down here. So what they are looking for is just a mutual aid for police services. I put in, I don't know if we can bring them up. I mentioned before we had an agreement in the past that I was told about, and I found a copy of it. It looks like it's from 2011, and it's just a letter, and it talked about that stop sign, that they can enforce violations of that stop sign at Tobahocken and Berkshire. I don't have anything more recent than 2011, and I don't know who all was involved with this. It's signed off by former Chief Beal. I don't know if it was brought to this committee at the time, if he just signed off on it. I don't know that, but that's what I was referring to. We were told, and that's the documentation for it. So what they're looking for is something similar to what we have had in the past with other organizations. So I have copies going back to the 80s of mutual aid agreements with Shillington, Coomberg, West Reading, Spring, basically our surrounding agencies. And it's my thought that when Western Berks EMA was formed, that those are the agencies to which we're supposed to draw our immediate assistance with. Now, Act 41 under the state, that gives police departments the ability to request and offer and give assistance to other agencies if it meets certain criteria. And one of them is just if they verbally ask for it. So that's how we've handled with Penn State in the past. We've talked about the Penn campaign stuff here in a bit. We've asked for their assistance in closing some of the roads for these two campaigns. It's just out of verbal requests that we made to them for that assistance. So that's what they're looking for. I don't know if you see anything in this agreement that you think that, but this is basically a boilerplate agreement that they came up with. Everybody's getting the same agreement. It's not tailored to Wyomissing. So I don't know if they're going to recommend that we need to change it.
No, and now that you've done the research that you've done, I'm satisfied that this is adequate for the limited purpose that it's intended to satisfy. council with a couple of things added. One is we need to have a resolution to wrap around this agreement in order to satisfy the intergovernmental cooperation law. And, you know, from a legal standpoint, what I want to make sure we do is to have a document that supports enforcement of law by the respective police agencies, so that if there is some kind of arrest that occurs, that there's no doubt about the enforceability of the action. So we just need to satisfy the intergovernmental cooperation law. The other legal aspects are already covered by the draft agreement. If the committee is ready to move forward with this, I can have a resolution ready to wrap around this by the council meeting in December. There are a couple of blanks in the agreement. One is the effective date, so if council were to adopt this resolution approving the agreement at the December council meeting, I would think we ought to just make it a 1/1/25 effective date for the intergovernmental cooperation agreement. There's also, you know, a blank for actually who the agreement would be with. I think the agreement needs to be with the Borough of Wyomissing, not with the police department, in order for it to be legally effective. Also, there's a blank for who would be the authorized agent to make a call for emergency services. You know, there's language in the agreement about, you know, the chief makes requests for standard things that are anticipated to come up in the future, like special events and things like that. But when there's an emergency event, you know, if you're not on duty, who would be the person? So my recommendation on that blank in the agreement would be to have the officer in charge of the police department, so that whoever is the ranking officer when an event arises of an emergency nature would have authorization to make a call for services under the agreement. But, you know, that's for you to decide, Chief. I don't know if that seems appropriate to you.
I think that's how it would happen. If something happens, as I said, the people working are gonna make the request for assistance, so usually the sergeant or senior officer is making that.
So, those are my comments. I mean, I think we've explored whether this structure is the right one, and based on the information that the chief has collected, and I appreciate what Tom was able to provide also as background for this, I think this is an adequate agreement. I believe if they're doing this for accreditation purposes, it's likely they want a standard agreement for all their campus police departments. So that's why I'm more than happy to go with their agreement, so that we don't create some inconsistency with other campuses that might be doing the same agreement.
So, but in this agreement, do we need to change the language a little bit? Is that what you're saying, for that it's the Borough of Wyomissing with the agreement?
Well, there's just a blank in the agreement, and we need to fill in the blank.
It said right there at the beginning.
So,
I see,
and
okay.
right,
So
so
maybe
that
Borough of
blank, we
Wyomissing.
need to make that to Borough of Wyomissing, and it should be then signed by, council president. There's another blank where we have to indicate what you know, the officer who makes the emergency calls, right there, you passed it already, go back, right there. So that sentence is about an emergency situation, and, you know, again, my suggested language would be officer in charge there, or whatever the jargon is that you use here in Wyomissing. And then at the end, there's another blank for effective date for the arrangement right there. So we need to, and, you know, in terms of, I mean, I just make it a year-to-year agreement. I don't know why we would do anything different than that, unless did they specify any different request for the initial term?
No, I think they're putting it in there. It's a renewal that they want, I think it just renews every year automatically, but they want 90 days to pull out of it. So it looks like then we would have to look about, what's that, June, July, before if we were looking to pull out the next year.
Right. Yeah, so anyway, I would make the effective date 1/1/25 and So, anyway, does the committee have any questions about this arrangement? I think it's a pretty typical, arrangement. I'm surprised it hasn't been in effect before this. It's just a matter of formalizing. And I think, you know, again, that letter that Chief Beal did served a purpose. Nobody ever challenged, apparently, any stops that were made at that intersection, but I think this new agreement is much better. It will put into place a very defensible legal document for both departments to do their respective mutual aid.
I'll make a motion to approve the Municipal Mutual Aid Police Cooperation Agreement as modified by the 3 points the solicitors.
Second.
We have a motion and second, and we want this done by council.
Yeah, I guess, like I said, I'll get this,
Okay.
the revisions and the agenda, the resolution ready for the council.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, so be it.
I have one question, Chief. What is the size of their department?
I think they're, I would say 8 to 10 officers, including their lieutenant. I think they have a lieutenant, 2 sergeants, and 2. Yeah, it's about that. I don't know for sure. It's around 8 to 10. They are 24/7. I know that, and they'll go to other campuses when other campuses need assistance with things. And, campuses that only have 2 or 3 officers, if they're off, they'll get sent down. They go to Apparatus. I know that.
When you're saying that they'd be accredited, accredited by who?
I think they're trying with the state.
I always thought state universities were automatically.
I don't know for sure, but I don't think so.
Interesting.
Well, they're accredited for educational
Yeah.
purposes.
No, I meant for law enforcement. I thought all their officers were automatically.
I don't think so.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Well, they have all the legal authority that the municipal police department does. So they have all of that authority. I think the accreditation is really just to show they're meeting certain high standards in terms of their organization and performance.
The next, as you know, with the budget approval, I'm gonna be looking to do a test at the beginning of next year. We're still waiting to hear back from civil service about setting the date to authorize everything. One of the things I wanna bring up there are 2 changes to the rules and regs with civil service. And the first is under applications 3.5, number 3, applicant's business or employment and his residence for the past 5 years. So on our application, we have that, people have to fill out. What I'm asking is to remove that entirely. To 1, make the applications easier to complete. But 2, when they do their background packet, we're putting their last 10 to 15 employment that they have to put on there. So we're gonna get that information, and we're asking for more information than that anyway. So it just makes the application easier to fill out, and we all know everybody likes ease today of doing things. So it'll make that just a little bit simpler, and we're still gonna get it, and we're asking for more information anyway, once we do that background packet.
So you're just saying pretty much it's just a redundancy that
Yeah.
you're gonna be doing this
Basically.
anyway.
Yes. And the second is under oral examination 4.5. What I'm asking for is that the first sentence, it talks about every applicant who has satisfied all the written examination requirements, if applicable, provided in section 4.4, shall be given an oral examination. I'm asking for the language in yellow where we do the PT test first, before we do the oral. So they do the written, people that pass the written get to do the PT, and then everybody that passes then the PT gets the oral examination. We always have people that do not pass the PT test. So it's gonna cut down on the time it takes for us to do the oral interviews You know, I'm not asking to change anything about the oil, it's just that PTV come first, so that it's less people that we need to do for that.
Did you copy this from Amber?
What's that?
Did you copy this from Amber?
No.
It's pretty close.
No, this is-
I read their ad in yesterday's paper for, starting officer, and that's pretty close to
Is it?
what they have in the
Well,
article.
those are the reasons why I'm asking for that, and I can take it to civil service when we go to authorize the list that these rule changes be made.
Do we need a recommendation from this committee?
Yes.
Civil
I'll make a
service
motion to approve.
with the chief's changes. Second.
We motion and second to approve with the chief's changes and move that on to civil service. Any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Next, at BCERT, we had just found out that BCERT is eligible for LSA funding for grants. As you may be aware, the grant applications for next year are due at the end of this month. So we've been kind of scrambling over this last week. That's when we got final word that we are eligible. We're trying to put in for monies for next year. So what I'm asking for is a letter requesting that BCERT be granted this funds. We're going to all, we've gotten letters from Senator Schwang, Johannes given a letter. We're asking all our member municipalities to provide these letters so that hopefully it helps with our application when we get approved for the funding that we're looking for.
And you would want this signed by whom?
I
think
have it,
Michelle can do it.
I have it sitting on my desk ready to go.
Just one-
I was gonna sign it assuming FMP blesses it to be ratified by council.
So, we're just looking like, we wanna get the applications in by Wednesday because it's due the 30th, but because of the holiday, we're trying to get it in by Wednesday.
Someone wish to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion and second. Further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Go ahead and sign it.
Thank you. And lastly, I've had some questions regarding all the campaigns that are happening over the end of the year here, with all the visits that came to Berks County. So I put together something just so we can see how much time we actually spent. The first visit was on September 21st, and the last was November 4th. I broke this out with two different ways, and one was we have officers assigned to BCERT and then our officers here. Wyomissing as an organization itself were only involved in the Trump visit on 10/9 and the Trump-Harris visit on 11/4. So on 9/21, it was just a BCERT visit, and that was for Vance. I was the only officer involved in that, and it was 9 hours and 15 minutes of time that I was on that detail. On 10/2, it was supposed to be originally Waltz and Harris, but the hurricanes occurred down in Florida, so Harris, she pulled out to deal with some of that stuff. But so it was just Governor Waltz. It was just, again, a BCERT. For that one, it was just myself and Detective Platt. There were 9.5 total hours. That's combined total hours that we spent between the two of us. On 10/9, as again, it was a combination between Wyomissing having to shut down roadways and then officers assigned to BCERT. So as BCERT, it was just me, and I had 8 total hours. For Wyomissing, we had 8 total officers working the detail, and 21, so it equated to 21 total man hours. 10/12 with Vance, that was just me again, for 5.5 hours roughly. And then with Trump-Harris visit on 11/4, for BCERT, it was 3 of us with a total hours of 33 hours, 45 minutes. And there were 10 officers for the highway and 21 total man hours. So in total in man hours, it was 108 hours and 30 minutes. And We did have to pay overtime out in some of these details, and we paid a total of 58 hours out for overtime to cover these details. I spoke, not just myself, but I think every chief in the county that was involved in this was asking about reimbursement from either campaign, Secret Service, and nobody knows anything about how to do, there's nobody to apply an invoice to pay for this. I asked Secret Service, we asked campaigns, and nobody wants to hear anything like that. So every 4 years, as I've gotten to know Secret Service agents pretty well over this last month, Berks County, with Pennsylvania being what it is, Berks County in particular is a hot spot because it's pretty even between the number of Republicans and the number of Democrats. It has an airport that these planes can land at, and our proximity to both Philadelphia, Harrisburg, Allentown, it makes it a destination that's highly coveted. So I would be willing to bet in 4 years, we're gonna have the same type of thing coming. So I just, it's what's kind of the way it is. I mean, you
So-
have to deal with a lot of this yourself.
Hey, can I go into the chief, is, we had 2 Vance details, a Harris detail that we did, taking her into the city for the motorcade. Our response time with what they required and what they wanted us to do, for all of it, was over $30,000 for those 2 events. I spoke to campaign staff, I even got on LinkedIn and wrote the treasurer of the RNC. And literally, she gave me emails to send these invoices to, whether we get something back, we get something back. But again, one of the secret, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, seriously, I got.
That was gonna be my suggestion, the
I've
DNC
been
and the
share-
RNC, send them to them.
I did speak to one of the Secret Service agents and said there is a bill in Congress now, which I've been trying to research, that will allocate every 4 years an allotment of money for local reimbursement for these events. So
That's cool.
it's 2 years, a few years too late. And again, the problem being is Byrne Township gets hit with this for every one of them. Because it's our coverage area, we get hit for all of them unless he's going into the city and we're just then the motorcade. And that's for all of them. So it's, I think they believe it's you got to do a presidential detail. I don't really care. I want to pay my guys because all of it's overtime. And it ties up a lot of resources. At one point in time on the 11/4 incident date, we had almost every EMS agency that would have been tied up one way or another because the city was completely out of service. I mean, they did a great job. We loaned them equipment, we did everything. But again, you had units in Allentown, you had units in Reading, you had units, they were going everywhere in that close proximity. That taps a lot of resources for us and for EMS, which is already a problem. Not only these guys are tired. I mean, the B-Cert medics, I think Dr. Spersky said, had over 400 call-outs during the last 2 months or 3 months of this campaign. And there's, how many medics do you guys have?
Well, they're through the PA-10, so they not only work with us, they work with state police. And you think that we were busy, the state police, they were covering the entire state, and they had, I forget how many they told me, activations that they had, because they had to go everywhere in the state. I mean, guys from Reading were going out west, and Pittsburgh were coming out here just to help cover.
The one captain that we had both times for the Vance rally, he said they had 4 open GL line items for because the governor said another Butler will not happen in Pennsylvania. Well, that's great. You can charge a lot of taxpayers. Can we get on that line item? But, oh, by the way, I did get a picture for later purposes of the captain and Paige, or Sage, so if we ever need a favor, I hooked them up, so we're good.
Well, it sounds like you're on the right track for something.
Oh,
John, I think you should, that the taxpayers should have to be responsible for a dime of this is ludicrous.
Yep.
And we owe it to our taxpayers to explore every possible angle to recoup our monies. And that means continuing with the national, RNC and the DNC. Let's talk to Judy Schwank and Johanny and see if they can provide any assistance to us. This is unexcusable.
Yeah, it was, Pennsylvania, like I said, as long as this is popular as it is.
And Houlihan.
It's so pivotal
Might as well do something
with,
for it.
who gets elected today. They're gonna be coming here every 4 years. So, for the reasons I noted, Berks County is going to be, we're gonna be visited several times.
Yeah, on the other hand, this is what makes America great. I'm telling you, the fact that those people are coming here, you can go to countless places across this country that don't see hide nor hair of any of them. And the fact that we're getting them here, I think, speaks to our importance.
That's great that they keep upping their requirements of what they want. First, it used to be a motorcade ambulance and an ambulance that stood outside. Now it's two motorcade ambulances.
As you've already noted, Butler.
Yeah,
I changed. Even for Trump, we have
Status
it.
parameters, is that
Secret Service.
The fire department in spring had to put
Well,
on a whole new
they-
shift just to
Because
cover the
when
hazmat.
the president comes in, they have the hazmat decon team they have to put on.
Right, and that's a whole new
Vice president
shift
gets
for a
that.
whole
Yeah, vice
time.
president gets that.
Trump was getting it because of being former president and the attempts.
And that's out of Spring's pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's out of all of our
Yeah,
pockets.
I know, I just meant it's another angle.
Let's not let this sit, let's keep exploring. I'm glad you brought this
I'll
up.
keep pushing, but that's,
All the bone.
I will say, I'm not expecting any kind of reimbursement from anybody. Everybody's gonna look, what?
I am hitting our congressman up though, and I've talked to their offices a lot too, and said, hey, listen, I know you got walking around money, you need to find us money, because this is an expense for all of us. To lay this out this way, you have the city of Reading and municipalities that are municipally funded and they can hit the taxpayer, okay, but you have agencies that can't do that. And what they're covering is, so again, I hope that this bill goes through, that there's funding for it and they allocate enough for it, because the resources they're requesting are tremendous. And I think only in 4 years it's gonna get worse, because they're gonna want a lot more for all four of them next time.
Please keep us up to date on this. And yeah, this is a new dog with a bone.
That's all I have there.
Thank you.
Anything else for the chief, for the lieutenant?
Do you wanna keep this line item on the agenda, just
What?
the political campaign line item on
Yeah,
the agenda?
yeah,
just
let's
for-
keep that on just so
It's
we
just a
can
reminder
continue.
to-
Good, that's good,
Sort of-
that's a good idea.
Yeah, updates on that.
Yeah. Okay, hearing none, we are going to be going into, executive session to discuss personnel matters. Do not expect any official business to come out of that, am I correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So at this time, we will adjourn into executive session.